fans, to the ECHL Insider. I'm your host, Garrett Hunter. Excited to talk more ECHL logos with you today. But before we get started, some important ECHL affiliations to announce to you. As the Florida Everblades have announced that they will now be the affiliates of the St. Louis Blues in the National Hockey League and the Springfield Thunderbirds in the American Hockey League. Also, one of the new expansion franchises in the ECHL, the Tahoe Night Monsters, have announced that their NHL affiliate will be the Vegas Golden Knights, and in the American Hockey League, the Henderson Silver Knights. Really love this affiliation with the Tahoe Night Monsters being with the Golden Knights and the Silver Knights. All three teams have the word Knight in their name, and with Tahoe, with the brown accents, they have similar color scheme to Vegas's color scheme, and Vegas is geographically the closest NHL team to Tahoe, so I think it's a great affiliation for the Night Monsters, and we wish them well in their first season. Now let's get you to part 2 of ECHL logo rankings. We will pick up at number 19, which you can see behind me is the Bloomington Bison. The Bison will have their first season of play coming up in October. I really do like this logo with the Abraham Lincoln hat on the Bison, a very symbolic thing of Illinois and President Lincoln being from the state of Illinois, so I think that was a great addition. And the Bison holding the hockey stick, can't go wrong with that. Just think the Bison looks a little too animated for me. I think the Bison, if it looked a little more fierce, would definitely add to this logo. At number 18 is the Allen Americans. Love the name Americans for Texas. I think it's a very patriotic name, and just the theming of this team especially really good. And it does play out well in the logo, I think, with the Allen Americans A and the hockey puck coming across. Really like that, and the star. Really great. Like the red, I think that since this team has such an emphasis on red with their ring, their uniforms, everything, that there could be a little bit more of the color red in the logo. But other than that, a solid logo from the Americans. At number 17 is the Idaho Steelheads. The Steelheads really like the font on their Idaho across the fish. Really good. I think this logo did get a refresh a few years back. And it's really good. I think the fish looks a little bit better than it did. And for the font, very good. And Steelheads, I wish they wrote Steelheads a little bit bigger, actually. I think it would match up a little bit better with the words Idaho. I know Steelheads being a bigger word than Idaho makes it hard, but overall, really good logo for the Steelheads. But some people do say like the fish looks dead, and I do see that a little bit. So maybe if the fish looked a little bit more fierce, that could bolster this logo up higher in the rankings. At number 16 is the Jacksonville Icemen. Jacksonville going with the Icemen in more of an Eskimo looking uniform and holding a hockey stick. Really like the stick tape job on the hockey stick and everything, and I gotta give it to them. The Eskimo looks very fierce, very great logo for them, and in a warm weather outfit, something you might see at a hockey game, in the fans. And the font, of course, very solid from them. I think just this logo, the only thing I can say about it is the Iceman font looks different than the Jacksonville font. The two words looks just a little bit different to me. I think Jacksonville, kind of like with the Idaho Steelheads, Jacksonville is written small, and just like Steelheads is written small, but since it is a bigger word, they have to scale down the font a little bit, I think is why it is like that. The only thing that makes this logo a little bit lower on the list for me. Next at number 15, the unofficial halfway mark, is the Reading Royals. Have their puck in front of me and the logo behind me. A very fierce looking lion. Really like this logo. The facial hair, though, the only thing that's kind of weird to me, it just kind of dips really to a fine point. Some people say that looks very weird, but I like just the fierceness in this logo. I think it's really good for the Reading Royals. At number 14 is the Atlanta Gladiators. Gladiators went with a different logo on their center ice, something to note, than they do as their primary logo. Their primary logo you can see behind me and in front of me actually. Really love this logo. The gladiator with the sword drawn, very fierce. And I do like the way that they write their name, Gladiators, and then the line, and then Atlanta. Really just clean look for the Gladiators. And also what they put on their ice this year was very good. The gladiator head, and then it said, draw your sword. Very clean look for them. I think it's a very fierce look. They represent their name extremely well, I think, in their logos. And just an all-around great look for Atlanta. Next at number 12 is the South Carolina Stingrays. And this definitely one of the best color schemes, I think, in the ECHL. The navy blue and red just go together very well in this logo on each side of the stingray, and the stinger down the middle looks great. You can see each eye on the ray as well. Just looks like, you know, you're the South Carolina Stingrays, you want a good stingray for the logo, and that's exactly what the Stingrays did. They didn't make it too much or too little, too basic or too complex. They just delivered a nice solid stingray for a logo, and I gotta give them credit for that. A very good design. Next at number 11 is the Wheeling Nailers. The Nailers come in with an old-fashioned goalie mask at the middle of their logo with two nails that cross. I think this is very creative. You know, you go into a little bit of old-fashioned hockey with the older goalie mask look, very cool, and it also looks very fierce with the nails behind it. You are the Nailers, and that name comes from the nail manufacturing that is very popular in Wheeling, West Virginia. And so with that name, you got to involve nails, right? And so they do that, and they involve hockey in it. I think it's a very creative logo that also looks just tough, and really just a great hockey logo for the Wheeling Nailers. Next up at number 13 is the Maine Mariners. Maine, a really great logo, and several things in this logo that are kind of hidden or just in there that if you got to look closely to see, and I really like that. The lighthouse being one of them, and the fork also is ME, standing for the state of Maine. That I think is just really creative. This just all around a very, very creative logo for the Mariners. I think really great. I love the ME, but it's also the M, and the Mariner fork, also just a really cool design for the Maine Mariners. And our last logo for this episode, number 10, the Worcester Railers. A great logo here. Really love this one with the train roaring through the mountains and the snow on the mountains. And you can also see the two hockey sticks that cross, Railers HC for Hockey Club. I think this is just a very well thought out logo with just the fierceness of the train roaring fast. You can see the sparks flying up from the track. Just a really great logo for the Railers here, and definitely one that I like, as well as the secondary logo, which is the W and the shield. A very more simpler logo, definitely, but for a secondary logo, that's what you want, and I think the secondary logo complements the primary logo very well for the Railers. Well, make sure to join us in 2 weeks for the final third part of ECHL logo rankings. We'll do logos 9 through 1 for you, as well as any more ECHL news that we get. We have yet to know the new coach of the first ever coach, I should say, of the Bloomington Bison. So as soon as we get that news, we will pass it on to you. Can't wait to find out who the first coach of the Bison will be, as well as any new ECHL affiliations with NHL and AHL teams. Well, make sure to subscribe to our channel below. Make sure to like this video if you enjoyed it, and we will see you in 2 weeks for the third and final part of ECHL logo ranking.